Uganda Science Education Program was driven by the response or by the needs of teaching, of science teaching in this country. We discovered that the teaching of science was not properly done. Secondly, our students always thought that sciences were so hard, either because of the approach or because they didn't like them. And at the end of it all, they would not pass them well. But more importantly, the policy of government as of now and the needs of government in terms of modernizing the country, government needs people who are science-oriented. So we are driven by the needs of our students, and two, responding the needs of government, which eventually was a response to the people of Uganda. Our need is to see that the teaching of science, one, becomes easy. Two, by becoming easy, the students will like it, and the teachers will also like teaching it, and eventually it will become enjoyable. Once it is enjoyable, people will pass it, and in passing it, we shall have a big section of the youth who are science-oriented, who can take up courses at tertiary institutions, at universities, which are science-oriented, and eventually cause a change in the industrialization of this country.
The purpose of the Uganda Science Education Program is to improve the quality of the teaching and learning of sciences in secondary schools. All economies world over run on innovation, and innovation only comes through learning scientific methods. So we believe that sciences are groomed among the population at the youngest level. And we thought that at the secondary school level, that's the best place where we can plant the seeds of science.
The key areas of Uganda Science Education Program are the lifelong professional development for science teachers, under which we also have ICT integration in the teaching and learning of sciences, and then personal development. Two is where we have the science fairs for students in secondary schools, and these are to enable students to enjoy science, to enjoy learning science, and be able to put in practice the theoretical aspects. Three is where we have the monitoring and mentorship program. In this, we have 3 teams visit schools. We have the coordinator visit schools, we have the tutorial team visit schools, and we have the board members to visit schools. In all these visits is to strengthen USEP activities in schools and also empower teachers, and in other words mentoring them, trying to advise them on where they need to improve their teaching and learning. 4 is the benchmark, where we encourage schools to choose a school of their choice and go and study, pick out the key learning areas, come back in their schools, apply those key things they will have learned in that school. 5 is the advocacy and networking, where we try to engage other groups or other stakeholders to work with them. Then 6 is developing and publishing teaching and learning materials. We have trained over 270 teachers in ICT integration, and in this I would say at least all those teachers can use a computer in a class to conduct or ease the teaching and learning process in a class, which never used to be the case before.
Our teachers never used to integrate ICT in teaching of science, but now when you go to Karungu GTC, they teach as well as integrating the use of ICT as a result of the training they received from the USEP tutorial team. You teach sciences as if it is a theory subject. But after this different training they have received from USEP, at least in a week, you find them preparing practicals 3 or 2 times. Then in the absence of the chemicals and apparatus, they have been taught how to improvise. You can do this using the computer and the projector, so that the learners are in a position to see exactly what goes on than just explaining theoretically. Then on the side of the learners, they love so much the studying of sciences that involves hands-on, which they got from the tutorial team under USEP.
We have got several workshops for the teachers to improve on our methods of teaching, so as to improve the performance of students. And when we started having those workshops, we have seen that our students are improving. For example, at the end of Senior 4, when the results come, we see that the number of students that are failing sciences is going down compared to the previous years when we were not working with the USEP program. So there is an improvement in both the teachers' performance and also the students' performance.
Our work as the tutorial team, we tried to help teachers develop a learner-centered approach whereby these learners are really involved in the teaching and learning process.
As far as delivery is concerned, teachers tend to think that the problem lies on the side of the learners rather than on the side of the teacher. Now, if a teacher realizes that he or she has shortcomings, then the first step has been taken. One has identified problems that one can address. So the challenge we've had sometimes is to have to convince the teacher that most of the challenges in the teaching learning process are coming from us teachers rather than the learners.
I've encouraged schools to create digital libraries, and these digital libraries will enable the teachers and the students to research the different information in different subject areas for purposes of improving functional ICT-based teaching and learning within the schools.
We have equipped over 55 lab staff from 15 secondary schools with functional laboratory management skills.
I want to congratulate USEP for spearheading the training of the laboratory assistants. In fact, in most of our schools, we have hand-picked men and women or ladies that do not have any basics of how to handle the laboratories. But with the training recently given by USEP to our lab technicians, we are seeing efficient work and management of these laboratories. They are able to identify the missing apparatus, expired chemicals, and are able to guide students conduct these practicals on their own.
We have managed to interest over 6,000 students from 15 secondary schools in Uganda, enjoying to learn sciences through engaging them into science fair.
Being that I'm teaching a girl child of today, these girls, they did not so much like science subjects, but as we have been involved so much in USEP, there's now a tremendous change, and especially when they involve themselves in science fairs, and they touch and they feel and they're able to do practicals, there is a great change that even the performance in the years has improved.
We have managed to empower a number of teachers and enabled them to see opportunities beyond their jobs and their small salaries they earn. In this, we have empowered teachers to set up side businesses so that they can be able to do much more instead of complaining for salaries as it is the trend currently.
Teachers formed a sort of a circle at the school. First of all, they have savings and credit. That's how they began, slowly by slowly. After about 2 years, we had they had over 10 million shillings. So they decided to start a project of a canteen in the school. They constructed their own house and started a canteen which is running very well, and it is helping the community around. As I speak now, we have got teachers who are supplying the school foodstuffs like bananas, like vegetables, using this initiative of being enterprising, and it is helping us a lot.
The Uganda Science Education Program has been able to develop an academic progress scorecard as one of its strategic areas. And the purpose of the strategy of the academic progress scorecard is to improve the learner outcomes. So what does it do? It looks at the individual roles of each of the players in the school system, and on a periodic basis asks specific questions that require them to account for their actions during that particular period in a bid to improve the quality of the teaching and learning of sciences.
The scorecard has been used very well in our school, whereby I, as a head teacher, it has helped me to get the feedback from the students, the learners, whereby they evaluate their teachers, and after teachers getting their feedbacks, then they are able to identify the problems of the learners and to solve them. And for the teachers, they also evaluate themselves through the learners and through the administrators. And that has helped a lot to improve the academic performance of the school. Before the scorecard was introduced in our school, we would assume that the students are okay because we would be teaching and we would think the students have no problems. But after introducing the scorecard, the students would give the real examples, the real facts, what is taking place on the side of the teachers and on the side of themselves.
We are now embarking on serious drive of advocacy to see how government can get involved, how the private sector in this country can get involved, how the donor community in this country can be involved, how the non-government organizations can be involved in this thing, because we believe it is not something that belongs to USEP. It is something to be owned by this country, something to be owned by the people of this country. We need backing up, because as you note, we need funding. The activities we are doing, retraining of teachers, holding science fairs, monitoring what is going on the ground, involving the community around, it needs money. And we believe Ministry of Education, we believe Government of Uganda, we believe the stakeholders, the biggest stakeholders in this country have the capacity to do that.